Welcome to the I-80 Boys podcast. As always, I'm your co-host, Chris, basically the equivalent of a door greeter at Walmart, and my co-host over here, Christian Hunt, Biggie Smalls impersonator. It's about spot on. Christian, what's up, my brother? How you doing, man?
Who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah, what is going on indeed? I am so excited to get into it tonight, Chris. I know you called me today and you said, hey, you wanted to get some stuff off your chest. You wanted to pretty much, what was the words you used before we got on here? You said you're coming after my ass, and I didn't know how to take that. So I'm both scared and excited.
Well, and that's where you should be. And when somebody calls you and says that quote to you or that line, you should be. I hope you got your big boy pants on. Just buckle up and take a ride, bro. I mean, you take that either way. So
I like it. So what we're going to be getting into today is the ESPN way too early top 25 reaction right there. So yeah, let's take a look at it here, Chris. So what we're going to do is, top 25, we'll kind of scroll through, but we're really actually only going to look at the top 15, and that's who we'll kind of be focusing on today for that. So let me scroll down here and get us all the way back to where we need to be. Coming in at number 25, according to ESPN, is
your second favorite team.
Damn right, bro. Listen, they got some they got some people coming in here. Like I said, we're not going to break everybody down. We're just going to kind of go through it. Like James Madison, for example. I'm not trying to be that guy that sleeps on James Madison, but who the fuck is that? Texas Tech, UTSA at number 22, which is actually funny enough. That's where my dad went to college at. So, and that was way before they had a football program. Of course, you'd know all about that, you old ass fuck.
Yes, I actually played wide receiver for him, believe it or not.
Oh, I could see. That was back. That was probably back in the 20s, wasn't it? And then the 1920s,
sure, where we wore leather helmets and no jock strap. Yeah, that's spot on.
At 21, we've got North Carolina, the Tar Heels, and Mac Brown over there going to try to get everything. He's going to try to get everything, going.
Bang. Yeah, Heisman Trophy winner this year. I'm calling it right there.
I like it.
We'll take
Ole Miss at number 20. You got the Lane trains in town with another top 20 edition there. Tulane, who we covered on last week's show, they have a really good. That'll be a pretty good matchup actually between them.
25, I think. I think that was week 2. I think they play each other.
Yeah, and that's Tulane's at home, which is the weird part of it.
Yeah.
Kansas State's going to be number 18. Again, they lose some key pieces there, but it'll be interesting to see again. And like we talked about in that Big 12, there's always an outside team looking in, and that might be them.
Right.
Number 17, we've got Oregon State, the Beavers. Do they scare you at all?
Not at all, unless you're scared of beavers. No, I'm not though, bro. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I don't know a ton about the Pac. I don't know a ton about the Pac-12, but Oregon State. I mean, they do return some people. What was it? 10-3 last year. That's a damn good season for those guys. I'm gonna have to look up and study a little bit more on them. But do they scare me in the national landscape? No.
Yeah, same thing. I think they get DJ Uiagalelei. Oh Lord,
shit, they get from Clemson, the quarterback.
Yeah. So they get him. I mean, he's. I think people give him and rightfully so. I mean, he's had some pretty bad seasons at Clemson, but I think
Trevor Lawrence. Come on, man.
Yeah, I think quarterback is really such a rhythmic sort of thing, right? I mean, you go back and you think about. Now, he played a little bit, his freshman year. I think it was against Notre Dame. And,
had a crazy good game against him his freshman year. He came in. I think Lawrence got hurt. Yeah.
But then in his sophomore season, he opened the campaign off against Georgia, and I just don't think he looked right ever since then.
No, you hit the nail on the head there. He hasn't looked good since that game. He didn't look good at all last year. I think a lot of people had him up there in the Heisman. I don't know I'm not going to speculate on that, but, man, he did not look good. And that's obviously why now he's playing at a different college.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if he can have a bounce back year out there and what should be an interesting race for the Pac-12. All righty. So at number 16, we've got the Texas Longhorns. This is interesting here. They've got a little bit of a quarterback controversy that we'll probably be monitoring going into spring a little bit more. Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers over there. That's going to be pretty interesting. Okay, let's start this list off something proper, and that is at number 15, Clemson. So at 15 here, they're going to be losing Brian Brees, Miles Murphy, Trenton Simpson. Jordan McFadden. We just talked about DJ over there. He's out, and then tight end Davis Allen. Those are some pretty tough things to lose, especially when you lose like those two guys and Brian Brees and Miles Murphy on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
They do bring back 8 starters on offense and 8 starters on defense, so that's pretty good. Man, talk about they just reload at Clemson on the defensive line, don't they?
Oh, speak about this all day about those guys, man. They put a lot of dudes in the NFL. I don't know what it is about that program, but they do get pass rushers. They get guys that can stop the run. They do a great job with that every fucking year, man. That team, that Clemson will be that you just said it, you started off with them, is like they're going to be very interesting. It's on the other side of the ball though, right? You lose DJ, they got some kids coming in. Clemson puts out really good players in the NFL too. So it's like I don't doubt in the ACC that they don't win that thing or have a chance to compete for it. I love Dabo Swinney. I think he's a hell of a fucking coach. So like they're going to be in that mix this year. I actually think they're going to finish higher in this. We're not going into our actual rankings, but like I truly do. And that team is very, very interesting to me, and they are on my radar. What about you, Christian?
Yeah, like I said, I like them. Again, their only real competition that I think you're going to see out there is Florida State.
I agree. Yep.
Cade, they might, again, they might have a little bit of a challenge against UNC, but again, you think about last year and last couple of years with Clemson. If they just had a little bit better efficiency at quarterback, chances are they would have been back in the playoffs over the last couple of years.
No, and that's the thing. Everybody's going to look back. Well, Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson. Does it get much better than that at QB in the college level? Does it?
No.
How many schools would brag to have those guys for X amount of years like that, like they have, and even before that, right? I think they thought DJ was going to be that guy. He wasn't obviously that guy, and I'm not saying that's his fault. Maybe it was the system, player, whatever. But Clemson, man, they put out guys. They put out wide receivers. They put out fucking running backs. Travis Etienne. I could go down the list of people that they put out in the NFL, but they got talent. I know that they're probably going to be in that top. I would definitely put them in my top 12 if they were a playoff starting today. Mm-hmm. I just think that team at the end of the season, obviously this is preseason, way too early rankings, but they're going to be up there, man. Like you said, Florida State's going to probably be their biggest challenge. UNC, I think, poses a threat just because of their offense with Drake May and those guys. Again, with Mac Brown, he always puts out, since he's been there, Mac Brown's done a hell of a job. So we're not talking about UNC here, but I'm just saying, like, I like Clemson. I love Dabo. He's a guy that I'm very high on as far as a coach. I think he's a good guy. I think he's a hell of a football coach. So I'm very interested to see them ones. I would highlight them and say, hey, that's a team we really want to look at this year.
Yeah, like I said, I like them too. The other thing I like about it is they're getting back 4 starting offensive linemen, and they're also bringing back, I think, the second coming of Christian McCaffrey, if I'm not mistaken, and they're bringing back Will Shipley back there, who's a really talented running back. So I think, like I said, Clemson's got a really good opportunity here, especially if they can have a little bit better performance out of the quarterback position. And again, they just have to have somebody also step up at the wide receiver spot too.
I agree.
All right, at number 14, we've got Notre Dame. Are they, they're still, I think, looking for an OC as of today, are they not?
They are, and Notre Dame is a team that I think he's either one of these could finish top 8, could also finish outside the top 25. They're very hit or miss for me this year on my radar, right? I mean, that's a team, new coach from last year. They built a lot of momentum kind of at the end of the year. I don't think the season started out last year the way they wanted it to, right? They're an interesting team too, though. Like, they lost some people, lost a great tight end. Is going to be probably one of the top tight ends taken in this draft. Lost their quarterback, but I mean, they also get Hartman. They also get a couple other guys there, Christian, as you can see too on your screen. I just don't know. Notre Dame to me is kind of a question mark. They really are. They could be super scary, I think, or they could let you down big time this year. This is kind of like one of these for me where it's like I really don't know where to rate them right now. But do I think they finish in the top 25? Yeah, absolutely. But they're one of those teams, like I said, man, right off the rip here. It's like they could easily be maybe top 10, top 12 at the end of the season with their schedule. Also could let you down with some losses where you're like, scratching your head,
Yeah, no, I think the weird part of this is I initially really wanted to hate on Notre Dame. They get rid of, they don't get rid of, okay, Tommy Rees goes to Alabama, I should say, right? But they lose Michael Mayer. They're losing a couple of guards here. I mean, they're losing some different positions. Here's where it gets interesting, though. Sam Hartman. They bring in Sam Hartman.
Yeah.
That guy has played a ton of football, and when healthy, I mean, he could potentially be a first-round pick next year if he puts up a decent season. You don't think so?
It's not that he doesn't have the potential. I just look at Notre Dame's history at quarterback the last how many years for first-round potential. You know what I mean? That's a big if, and I think we'll probably maybe disagree with that one a little bit, which is great, but I just don't. Notre Dame quarterbacks lately, man, I don't know if it starts back with Ian Book and Jesus Christ, Brady Quinn. I mean, I could go back then, man. All these guys that I think that are going to be better than, I guess, they don't live up to the expectations, I guess. Notre Dame has a history of like showing up lame in bowl games, like big bowl games at times. And it just bothers me, man. And I guess with the quarterback spot, I think a lot of that has to do with that. So, yeah, you're not right. Is the kid talented? Absolutely. You're exactly right. I'm not saying that he can't be. I just, like I said, that's the thing with Notre Dame. I base a lot of their season off quarterback play. There's times where they've had guys that look fucking great, and then there's times where I go, Jesus, this guy looks like a D1 or a D2 quarterback.
No, you're exactly right. I like Sam Hartman. Again, do I think Notre Dame runs the table? Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But I think that they are a lot better than they're going to be last year, at least. So, all right, let's look at Utah. The Utes.
Yes.
All right. This is last year. I actually picked Utah to be a sleeper playoff team. Believe it or not, I thought they had a lot of chances. I mean, I really did. I mean, they were bringing back again. Last year, they were bringing back Dalton Kincaid, who was one of the really, really solid tight end. Clark Phillips, who's one of the best cornerbacks in the country. They had a couple of really talented running backs. Like when you looked at their statistics, I mean, it was ridiculous. They're
go ahead. Not to interrupt you, but who's their boy at quarterback?
Cam Rising.
Yes. God, I love that kid, man. He's a tough fucking dude. Love that kid. And I think, just to interject on this, I think Utah is competing for the Pac-12 title next year. I'm going to write it right down right there. That's how I feel about them. I truly do think they're going to be that good. I like Utah. I love their head coach. They're actually one of the teams in the Pac-12 to play a little smash mouth football, play some defense. Write them down.
Yeah, I like Utah too. I mean, Kyle Whittingham, we talk about, typically what I like to see and really what I would like to see and kind of an upset bid or a matchup, if you will. And normally it's having a coach who doesn't fold in big games. It's getting a quarterback back and then just getting some production back, right? Not losing 2/3 of the roster. And if you can do all three of those things, that's what makes it so hard, I feel like, in college football. You have to do all three of those things to really have a shot against the Alabamas, the Georgias, and even still, you got to hope it. You just got to hope and pray sometimes, right? So, yeah, I like Utah for sure. Let's look over here. This is your boys over here, old TCU.
Oh God, I caught a lot of slack for this on an earlier podcast about TCU. This is more your team. It's not that I don't think TCU is going to do horrible this year, but how do you live up, Christian, to the expectations, or I shouldn't say expectations, of what you did last year, though? You know what I mean? What they did last year to me was crazy. I mean, yeah, they didn't win the Big 12 title game, but they found themselves in the fucking playoff. And then they upset, I think a lot of people with half a brain last year thought Michigan was probably the team that was going to win that game, right? And they blew the doors off of Michigan. They destroyed their defense. And Max Dugan to me was a lot. I love that kid. He's from Council Bluffs, just right up the road. I just think with him and then Quentin Johnson, who's going to be a high draft pick, one of the top receivers in this year's draft. I just don't. And I know that's not everything. I just don't see how they're going to repeat that. And that's not what 12 means in this ranking. It's just, that's a lot, man. They had a lot of things go right for them at the end of the year. And that's on the coach and that's on the team. I think what's their coach's name? Sonny Dykes. Am I right? Am I wrong?
Oh yeah.
Right.
No, yeah, you're right.
Coach. I just don't see though that you just can't, I just don't see them repeating that. Like I said, if they got Max Dugan back again, man, you got a chance. That kid did a lot for them, man. I don't know if anybody watched that Big 12 game, even though they lost it, man. That kid who's had heart problems did all that. And God, that game was awesome. It was one of the best games I watched all year last year in college football. So I'm not as high this year on them. And it sucks because I do like them, but it's just probably not that high for me. I'd like to hear your thoughts though, Big Dick.
Oh, thank you so much. It's, medium average over there. Schmedium. Listen, medium, yeah. Marginally average. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay, that's what that's what I thought.
Here's the concerning part. They lose Max Duggan, Kendre Miller, Quentin Johnston, and Travius Hodges Tomlinson. That's LaDainian's nephew, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
Yeah.
I know LaDainian went there, man. Best running back, one of the best college running backs I've ever seen. No shit. That's his.
Yeah, that's one of his family members. So you're losing arguably. I mean, again, this kid is pretty good. I mean, at times last year, I mean, you put on any TCU game, these were the four names that were being called: Johnson, Duggan, Miller, and then Tomlinson. Those were the guys for him, right? They're losing two defensive ends, two bookends on the defensive side of the ball, and Horton and Cooper. Again, losing center and guard. Here's what I think. They are going to take a step back because the quarterback play is probably not going to be at the same level. I think they'll still be all right. Like, here's the thing. They're getting JoJo Earl from Alabama. Remember in a very early podcast, we talked about Alabama losing a bunch of receivers. That was probably one of their best receivers. The guy that was in line to take that next Devontae Smith, that next Jameson Williams, John Mechie. That was their guy, I think, at Alabama. So losing him was, that hurts. That's a big loss. They also lost, by the way, Tommy Brockmeyer, if you can believe that, who was one of their Tommy Brockmeyer, who was one of their tackles. I think he transferred out too from Alabama. So, there's a couple things there that they're going to have to kind of keep in mind. I think they can compete. But do I think they go 13-2 and 9-0 again in the Big 12? No.
Yeah.
No, I think they'll have a winning record. And I think, like I said, I think they'll go bowling for sure. But do I think that they're going to have double-digit wins? I don't know. 12 to me seems really, really high for them.
Right. I would agree with what you said there. No, I do. TCU will be relevant. I just said to try to duplicate what they did last year was, I think most TCU fans would even say that. So yeah, that's a tough thing to do, man.
Like, and don't get me wrong, I'll say this to kind of finish it up and then we'll kind of move on. I think for them, if they could be a fringe top 25 team at the end of the year, that's fantastic.
Right.
That's about where I think they're going to be at the end of the year.
Yep.
Number 11, Washington Huskies.
I'll give my takes here, man. I don't know a ton about the Huskies. I don't. This is a team that, what they say was here, 7 on offense, 7 on defense. I know Kirkland's a hell of a fucking guard. Also lose your center and your other guard. That's a lot off the front line there. This team, I didn't catch a lot of them last year, so I can't, like I said, I'm going to get hammered in the comments here, but I don't feel Washington to me, man, they've been around for years now as the upper echelon of the Pac-12, right? They're always in that discussion. It seems like every fucking year. This year I do like Utah. I like Oregon a ton out of that conference. USC is going to be there. I mean, to me, Washington, this rating is high to me. Off the rip is not where I would have put them. I also can't sit there and say I have a ton of, evidence to support that. But I guess I'd be interested to hear your thoughts here, Christian, on kind of what you think of these guys with the Huskies over there.
Yeah, Kalen Dabor, I think is his name, is how you say it. He actually, to me, he was one of the quiet, like sneaky good coaching hires out there. I mean, they were really trying to figure things out after, was it Chris Peterson left, I think? And they've really just kind of been in shambles, like a little bit of a free fall since he left. I think he was the perfect hire. I mean, he's in year one, if I'm not mistaken, he went 11-2.
That is impressive last year. I just don't remember that record being there like that. I mean, evidence is evidence here, but like that's surprising to me. I know they were in the running. I just didn't. I mean, 11-2 is a damn good record, man. You obviously beat people. So,
but like you said, though, they've got Michael Penix Jr., who is Indiana's quarterback. Yeah. So I mean, and he demolished the rest of the Pac-12 in that schedule. I mean, he put up 4,600 yards, 31 touchdowns. But and again, just like they're talking about right here, though, it's so tough because you're losing majority of your offensive line, and it doesn't look like they've really picked anybody up that's going to be shoring up that either. So to me, I mean, you just have to be able. I think you're right. I think Washington's another fringe team. Like I would personally put Utah above Washington.
Thank you. Yep.
That's
where I'm at. Yep.
That's where I'm at here, is putting them above there. Oh, Lord, Tennessee Volunteers. All right, number 10. I like this one. This can be a good one, Chris. What do you think about Tennessee?
If anybody's watched our podcast, I'm very big on Alabama this year, even though I'm an Alabama fan, right? And this sucks because Georgia, I know, is obviously Christian's going to sit here and swing his dick around and do a helicopter time or two about Georgia and the back-to-back, and I get it, and I respect it. Not his wiener, but him. It's just, this is where a thing with Tennessee that kills me. I am a big advocate of Hendon Hooker. If you guys don't watch the draft, I'm telling you, this kid in a couple of years, you'll see him starting on an NFL team. I love this kid, even after the injury. With that said, though, this year losing him is a huge piece, along with Jalen Hyatt. That kid, one of the top receivers, is going to be drafted in this draft. This kid was a lot to the offense, right? Tillman, another guy that was hurt most of the year. This guy's still going to be drafted. I mean, he'd lose a ton off that offense. I just don't know, as much as I'm not a Tennessee Volunteer fucking fanboy here, but like I with Alabama, who I think is going to be better. I know Georgia's going to be up there with their PUD schedule. LSU, I think, is definitely going to have some pieces back, and I'm high on them as well. Even 10 for me is also right about where I think they could finish. I don't know a ton about the new quarterback. I just know when you don't bring it back, the quarterback they had the year before, things are going to be tough. They also lost a couple guys off the defensive side of the ball too. It's going to be tough. It just is. And I don't know where to really put them. I mean, to make this quick and short, and I've rattled on, but like Christian, I'm honestly like, I just tend to see, if I had to pick, like, I think they finished fourth in the SEC this year, and that's where I'm going to leave it. If that's a top 10 ranking, holy shit, that's a good year for them, bringing, losing all the pieces that they've lost.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you. I was really high on Tennessee last year,
for sure.
Just coming into that season, I think they take a little bit of a step back just with Joe Milton. I mean, he's played well in some mop-up duty when Hooker, I think he got hurt this year towards the end of the season. I mean, he definitely did pretty well against Clemson in that Capital One Orange Bowl. He threw for 251, 3 touchdowns. I can't remember off the top of my head if everybody that was on that loaded Clemson defense like stuck around to play in that game, though. I would have to kind of sit down and kind of dig. There might have been some people that opted out in that, and that would determine how I think about it. Because last time we saw Joe Milton was, if I'm not mistaken, it was pretty early on, I think, in the season where they were trying to beat Pitt. That's the big thing is last time we saw Joe Milton, they were sort of struggling to play Pitt, I think a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So that was the really interesting part of that, to see how can he handle it. Because he can get really inaccurate at certain times. I mean, he transferred out of Michigan, like we talked about. So we just want to make sure that Joe Milton kind of readies the ship. Again, I'm never, very rarely do I think going and turning to a true freshman is always the right answer. And don't get me wrong, this 5-star quarterback, who's one of the better quarterbacks in this class, in my opinion, I think he could come in and do some good things, but I think he's about a year away from sitting and kind of learning and just being at this level from kind of doing it. As far as who else that are losing on there, you said it, Jalen Hyatt and Tillman, 2 electric wide receivers in the sport. They're also losing a bookend tackle. This is where this really hurts, though. When you're a team like Tennessee, I mean, you really have to. Byron Young, Latrell Bumpus, and Jeremy Banks and Trayvon Flowers, those are the biggest names on their defense. And, don't get me wrong. I mean, Tennessee's defense has definitely been sort of suspect a lot of the time.
For sure.
But those guys, I think, have a potential to go on, and they'll do something in the league. They'll get picked up in the league, and you're going to be like, damn, those guys played at Tennessee. Like, I think they're downgrading pretty significantly with who they'll have. So, but yeah, that's my take on Tennessee. I would say, based off where we're at right here, maybe 15 is probably a little closer. 12 to 15 is probably that closer spot there. The number 9, Oregon Ducks.
I'll speak on this. Bo Nix, right? The Auburn transfer had a tremendous year last year with Oregon. This is where you hate, you're probably going to eat this up, Christian. You know me, I'm not big on Pac-12 defenses. He didn't really impress me with Auburn, but he went to the Pac-12, fucking tore him up. He's back again. This is where I think Oregon wins the Pac-12 this year. Yes, do they lose the key pieces you want in an offense on the front line? I think they lose 3 or 4 guys there. Going to be tough, but I still think with Oregon, you lose Thibodeau on the back end to the NFL draft. I take that back. That was the year before. Hell, he wasn't even there. So, like, I guess my thing with Oregon is, like, do they sustain the offenses that they've normally run there? Where they're always in the upper echelon, the quick pace, the fucking yards all over the field, but can they defend on the back end? I think so. They lose Sewell. They lose a couple other guys. Apologies. I throw Thibodeau in there. That was the year before, but like they just, I don't know. Oregon to me, I felt like at the end of the year looked really good. They looked a hell of a lot better than they did before the start of the season. I think they lost. Did they lose to Georgia last year right away? Wasn't that like one of the big games last year? Or am I wrong? Am I thinking the year before?
No, they lost last year to Georgia, 49-3. Yeah.
Right. And I thought if they would have had to play each other again at the end of the year, I kind of, I always think about that. Teams in college football that start the season off, they're totally different teams, good or bad, by the end of the year, right? There's a long season there, and you see that quite a bit where teams end up. So I actually think Oregon's going to be super strong. I'm not mad about the ranking that they have them here. I honestly have them winning the Pac-12 this year, and I guess I'll stay with that. Having the returning quarterback, Bo Nix was a high recruit. He can play, he can run, he can throw the football a little bit. I think the Pac-12 is a little softer. Probably piss some people off, but I mean, I honestly think that they'll be right up in there. If they don't win it, I think they'll be in the title game.
Yeah, I think they absolutely have a really good shot. I think this is the year that you put everything together. Dan Lanning is one of the best recruiters in the college football landscape. Yeah. I mean, so he's going to have them. He's going to keep having them where they need to be. They lost. The concerning part about this is Bo Nix and his time at Auburn. I mean, he's been having to run for his life. I mean, they just didn't have it all together on the offensive line. He is losing 4 offensive linemen this year out of 5.
Huge.
So
huge.
They do pick up some good receivers though, and I like that. I mean, I'm not worried about them on defense. I actually think in year 2 they're going to take massive, even though they're losing Noah Sewell, who in my opinion,
I think he was kind of leader of that defense last year though.
Yeah, I think he's a better prospect, and I think he's better than his brother. You know, Panay. I mean that might be a hot take, but
but yeah, I could see it.
I think from a talent standpoint, he was one of the best linebackers in the country.
Okay.
Georgia really wanted him. So, but yeah, for me, when you're looking at them, it's just going to come down to how their offensive line kind of comes to play. Again, it's Pac-12 football. I think they've got a shot with Dan Lanning. I like their chances. This seems about right. About 10 for me. They're a top 10 team. I could see that.
Okay.
So,
all right. We agree on that one.
All righty. LSU. All right. I see. This is where we're starting to get fun right here.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Christian. I've been rattling off the last couple here. Give me your thoughts on the old LSU Tigers.
Man, I like it. They're losing some people here. Okay, they're losing BJ Ojolari. They're losing Keishon Butte, but they're bringing back a ton on offense, man. I mean, they're bringing back a ton on offense. Pretty much everybody on offense except for
Jalen Daniels, baby. Write it down, Heisman top 3 candidate right there.
Yeah, they're gonna be all right. Like I said, they're losing a ton, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but they're also replacing it with some good talent there. Defense was kind of their question mark at times last year, wasn't it? I mean, especially in that SEC championship game. I mean, Georgia just was going off.
Well, it is Georgia though we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm just saying, bro. Back to back. No, you better call it chiropractic. Anyways, let's. That's what the chiropractor is going to be saying to you. Let's take a look at it here. Yeah, I like Jaden Daniels. Malik Neighbors, again, first-round talent there.
He's good. He's a good kid. He's a good player.
Like I said, this is my dark horse. Not dark horse. This is who I'm predicting to win the SEC next year. And I know
that's right. Yeah.
This is not, to me, this isn't a super crazy hot take. I mean, it just really comes down to, and we've talked about this before, what can Brian Kelly, what is he going to do when you get him in a big game? Do they fold? Do they rise to it? They did some things I liked last year, man. They beat Alabama. He got the Saban monkey off his back. So I think, like I said, I think they take big steps forward this year. I think they're competing for, if not winning, the SEC championship.
Well, that's nice for your nice, sad sob story for your Georgia Bulldogs. No, I do. I'm high on LSU. Love Jalen Daniels. Mark him down in top 5 in the Heisman. I'll bump it to 5. I think he's gonna have a big year, man. The kick and run. He's been around for a year. Had to run for his life at times last year. I'm not a Brian Kelly fan, not at all. But I think LSU is going to be there. I think they're going to be tough this year. Definitely put them in the top 3. I think, in my opinion, as far as the SEC goes. Maybe I'm wrong. My list is fluent, right? Moves around. This is early predictions here, but I like I said, LSU is going to be up there. I'm not mad about the ranking. I'm not. I actually think that they definitely could probably, probability wise, they probably finish right up in there. I haven't really looked at their schedule too in depth, but I don't think it's terrible. And it's not out of the possibilities that they finish up here. Christian, would you disagree? I mean, would you find a top 10 finish next year out of LSU being up there? I mean, they could win the damn thing. I mean, they're good enough to win the fucking division this year, honestly, in my opinion.
If you win that division, I mean, again, I would say they to me, top 10 finish is kind of that's kind of the expectation. I don't want to say that's the bad part of it. That's the downside.
Right. Right. Would you be surprised to see them in the top 4 in the playoffs though? Would that blow your mind or no?
No, that would not blow my mind at all. Okay. I mean, that just to me, that wouldn't. I mean, yeah.
No, sorry there. No, and that's where I'm finishing up with this. Like, I don't think this is, I'm not an LSU fanboy, but I mean, I follow them a ton, man. And I think that they're going to be right in that mix. I mean, like I said, me and you both said it several times on the podcast. Love when you're bringing a starting quarterback back, right? That is huge. And, they lose Keishon Bootle or whatever, who I didn't think was actually, sounds like he's got a lot of legal trouble going on right now. I wasn't that impressed with him. I actually thought that Neighbors was actually the best receiver last year, and they got him back. So I think they're going to be fine. It's just more, can Brian Kelly, you said it perfectly, can he win that big game, right? He did prove that last year with Bama. I also think, though, Bama was in a down year last year with what they had. Can they sustain that fucking momentum coming into this year? You beat Bama again, then I'm talking, okay. You know what I mean? Like, you really grab my attention. I think they can do that this year. I truly do.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I mean, that's definitely going to be, that's got to be, the way we're going to do this, just so everybody knows, when we get in season here, we're going to definitely do kind of like a game cast, if you will. Right. So we will look to, that'll probably be one of the games, but we want you guys to fan vote the game cast on Saturdays that we break down games for. That's one that, man, I really hope we get to do that one, because that would just be awesome, man. That Alabama LSU, it's a night game. It's a whole different thing. Okay.
Who we got?
Oh, Lord.
Your boy, Lincoln Riley. You've been dick riding forever.
Listen, we've gotten, looking in the comments section, there's a couple of people that have been really big USC fans. And one of the big things that they've always said, or they're telling us, is we're going to be crying about our old boy Dylan.
Yep, you had to say it. I don't have a shot here, but I'll finish this beer.
Raiola. And let me just say right now, I didn't have a shot, but I did a little beer chug there for you. I think that USC legitimately, this is the year. This has got to be the year. If you're Lincoln Riley, you bring in, man, I didn't even realize Malachi Nelson, who was one of the top quarterbacks last year. This dude, if he can pull off getting Dylan Raiola, just so you know, real quick before I actually get into this guy would absolutely, Jesus, I mean, that would be a loaded quarterback room.
Do you want that though? Like loaded? That fucking loaded?
I don't think it's going to matter. I mean, honestly, I'll make a prediction on this. You look at you're talking about for Dylan Raiola?
I'm talking about USC as a whole. And I'm going to ask a question here once you're done with your great, introduction here at USC about what I really think. And I got a great question. Go ahead though. No. Do I think that though? No. Do you want that many great quarterbacks? You're not going to be able to keep that many great quarterbacks.
No.
That Nelson kid is a damn good quarterback for sure.
Yeah, I was going to say I've got a prediction. We'll get into that later on though, and that's I don't think we're ever. I don't think the Dylan Raiola sweepstakes ends with where he commits. I think that's just the beginning of this. I think he transfers. You go back and you look. Every year he's moved high schools. So I'm just saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. All right, let's get back onto this take here though. USC. Now we did say that Caleb Williams probably going to have a little bit. A Heisman slump kind of season, right? I would not be surprised this year if Caleb Williams has a little bit of a down year coming off that Heisman trophy. Thoughts, Chris?
As we talked about, I know we pissed some people off with it. It's not that I don't think the kid's talented, right? No, he is, right? You don't win a Heisman trophy and you're a piece of shit. Unless you're Johnny Manziel. No, I'm just kidding. No, I really truly think that he's going to have a great season. We all know what Lincoln Riley does, and this is where I'm going to get you, Christian, because you've been a dick rider for a while now with that guy. He wins Heisman trophies for quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield. We could go down the list of guys, man. This guy could get quarterbacks up there and get them into the NFL. And there's nothing against those guys. It's just I guess my thing is when is he going to win a goddamn big game? That is I get animated about this guy because he comes from Oklahoma. I'm a Midwest guy. I've watched him play. I've watched him play in person several times. Watch him coach. I don't dislike the guy, but when are you going to really do something on the national landscape as a team? I don't care about the player type of thing. And we look at this fucking, key losses next year. Jordan Addison's going to be probably the second or third receiver off the board in this year's draft. Who do you replace him with? Some of these other kids, I think they're decent. One of those kids I know is a highly recruited kid, and it's USC, and you play in a softer defense with the Pac-12. But when are you going to win the damn big game, man? That's the thing with, and I'm not trying to I know this is USC, but it starts with the head coach, right? When are you going to win a big game? They lost to Tulane in a goddamn bowl game last year, where I think 90% of the bets were on fucking USC. You were probably one of them.
No, listen.
Oh, no.
Listen to me right now. You keep saying, you said I'm a dick rider. I've never been a dick rider for Lincoln Riley or USC. I mean,
you're a closet dick rider.
No, I mean, listen, do I think they can compete and potentially win the Pac-12? Yes, that's about the extent of it. because I think what happens is they're going to walk through a cupcake of a schedule. They're going to get to a big game and a top 4 matchup there. And they're immediately going to get boat raced. That's what happens with every Lincoln Riley team. I've always said that. He puts out a ton of talent. He's got a lot of great connections. He's done nothing but coach 3 Heisman winners now to this point. He is a quarterback whisperer, if you will. I mean, you go to play for Lincoln Riley because he's the hip, young, cool guy that's going to kind of let you do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Yep.
But you don't go, and you see that every year. Think about it. Who else he had, right? He's had guys, the best quarterback in the National Football League that he's coached, Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, for one fucking year, and Jalen Hurts is the man. But you know what the funny thing is? I was just going to interrupt you on this, and I'm not going to go deep diving in NFL like I want to here. Kyler Murray, immature kid with the Cardinals. Immature. Baker Mayfield, pretty immature too. You know what I mean? Guys were great college guys, and I know this is a college football podcast, but a lot of guys with some egos, right? Caleb Williams has an ego too. I'm going to write this down right now, Christian. Next year, a couple years from now or whatever, Caleb Williams, everybody's telling me next year is like the big NFL quarterback draft class, right? Mm-hmm. Which I don't agree with. I actually think this year is going to be better, but I will say this right now so we can write it down and come back to this in a year. Caleb Williams, I don't think is some crazy good pro quarterback. You know what I mean? I just don't. I don't see it. I think he's kind of immature at times too. I know I'm pissing off the USC fans and our thing here, and that's okay. You guys, leave a comment, let me know. I'm just saying, like, Lincoln Riley is the cool, hip, young guy, the Cliff Kingsbury, if you will, type of guy, man. And it's not like I'm knocking on USC. I'm not. It's just like I just don't see this year, and I guess we're talking about USC right now where they're rated, but like Caleb Williams is going to have a down year compared to last year. He had some crazy good numbers in that system. He did. And I'm not disputing that, but I just don't see USC overall this year winning the Pac-12. I truly don't. I think Oregon's going to take it. I think obviously we dived into Washington. They're going to be up there. I guess I just don't see it, man. I don't. Do you find that their rating is a little bit high here, or where do you stand on that to end this up?
For what I would say they're projecting this to be, because, I mean, here's the other side of it, too. They do bring in a guy, Dorian and Singer, he actually led the Pac-12 last year with 1,100 yards at Arizona in the transfer portal. So they bring him in. That's pretty good. They're bringing in somebody on the offensive line that can start for them. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, and they've also got Mario Williams. I mean, that guy, that seems like he was pretty good last year for him. Taj Washington and Brendan Rice. You do lose out on a historic talent in Jordan Addison. But again, yeah. I really think like I said, I think I'm actually surprised they didn't rate him a little higher on this. And well, I'm not saying that I think they should be rated higher. I think in the actual standings, 7's about where I'd rate them at. Okay. 7 or 8, probably, maybe 6. Okay. But I would, I'm just surprised they didn't get put up like closer to 5 or 4,
Okay.
So,
I mean, I think maybe your ESPN stats agree with me a little bit that Pac-12 is a little soft. Just saying.
Oh, shit. Penn State Nittany Lions, number 6.
All right, I'm going to take this one over here. I've been telling you, man. Sean Clifford gone. Okay, fine. I wasn't really that impressed with him to begin with. The big thing with Penn State is, to me, they play what in the West with the tough Michigan, Ohio State teams, right? They're in that tougher division. Can they knock off one of those teams? If they knock off one of those teams, this rating system that we're looking at currently today on the 8th of March probably is too low. If they can beat one of those teams and then win out, that's all I got to say about Penn State. I mean, we're waiting for James Franklin to do something, right? Are we not? I mean, he's a good coach. We know that. Penn State's been relevant the last how many years since he's been there? I'm going to kick it back to you here. Do you think this is too high or too low? Even if they lose, and they have them, look at that record. Last year's record was 2 losses. Where do you, Christian, do you think this is too high or too low? Because we know the 2 teams are ahead of them right now. We definitely know.
I think this is too high. I think Penn State's a good team. I think their potential to be a top 10 team, like I could see them being a top 10 team. I think this is just way too high, though. I mean, look, Sean Clifford
you think
played
USC should be rated higher than them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I do, because here's the reality of the situation. Sean Clifford played a shit ton of football. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, and sometimes like they're bringing in a kid that's a true freshman and Drew Aller, who was, he was number 2 pocket passer, right, in 2022. So, I mean, he hasn't really played, has he? So my thing is you're bringing this kid in, and what? I mean, you're pretty much starting this whole thing over again. He's going to be on the road in some tough environments in the Big 12. You think they can replicate? And you look at who all they've lost. I mean, Joey Porter Jr. I mean, again, they've lost a lot of. Yeah, I mean, they're losing some of their best players on this team, some of the more notable names, and we're going to be expecting them to.
The only reason why I think that now, do I think 6 is maybe a little bit, ahead of schedule? I do, but if they knock off a Michigan, Ohio State, right? I'm talking hypothetically here. They deserve to be up there because the rest of the schedule, the Big Ten pretty much sucks outside of those, 3 or 4 teams you could throw. I can't. It's hard to speak about Nebraska, even though I'm a fanboy. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know where Wisconsin or the rest of the Big Ten is going to fucking be, Christian. We don't. You know what I mean? We kind of know where Michigan, Ohio State's going to be. Penn State has always been that fucking team that's right there at 3, essentially. So I'm not saying that like 6 is probably a little too high. Now that I think about it, you're right. But I still think that they finish in that top 10, dude. I really, truly do. Even with a new quarterback, I don't see with the Big Ten schedule and who they have to play that we would be, completely off on this and they finish like fucking 22nd or something. I just don't see it. Penn State does play tough on the defensive side of the ball. I just don't see anything outside the top 10. If they did, I would be disappointed. I guess I would call that a fluke or a flop of a season because it's Penn State, man. I mean, they've been in that fucking running every year. Sean Clifford to me was not a stud. I'm sorry if I hurt anybody out there with my feeling or your feelings on that. He played a lot of football, but there were times where I thought, man, this guy, he doesn't wow me enough. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, maybe the kid that they bring in, it kind of revamps the team on the offensive side of the ball. So 6 is probably a little too high. You're right. When I asked you the question about USC, you're right. I would actually probably put Oregon ahead of these guys, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, I definitely would too. So so he was at Penn State. This Drew Aller kid was. Looks like he played in a couple games, looks like. His stats last year, he had QBR of 60, 344 yards, and 4 touchdowns.
Okay.
So, I mean,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, but here's the thing, though. He did also have, 58% completion record. I mean, here's the thing. He might do a little something. I mean, that's kind of the thing here. I think
did Sean Clifford, I guess, just stand out to you? Like, you know what I mean? Did he just like wow you and be like, oh yeah, that's the next, I'm not saying he's got to be a Bryce Young or a fucking CJ Stroud, but I mean, did he like, oh, that's one of the top fucking quarterbacks in the Big Ten? I mean, do you think he's better than Casey Thompson was last year?
No, I mean, I certainly wouldn't say that. Here's the reality of the situation. And we've talked about this before, Chris, almost ad nauseum. How many times does it feel like Penn State gets these really highly recruited guys? The Christian Hackenbergs, some of these guys that are super highly recruited guys that you're like, man, that's like one of the best quarterbacks in this class. They come in and they just kind of are the 3rd or 4th or 5th best team in the Big Ten.
Right. No, and that's where I'm going with this. I thought about it after I came on with my fucking rant there. It's like, man, 6 is super, super high. I mean, that means you're right in the talk of the playoff, obviously. And it's like, man, I could see a lot of teams finishing ahead of them now that I think about it. So I apologize if I went too hard on you off the rip there, but let's move on. Let's move on to 5. What we got at 5 here?
Oh,
my boys.
Oh boy.
I fucking don't even like. Yeah.
Hey, didn't you said, now I'll start this off. Now you had said something about, riding the pine here, the Nick Saban pine, man. What does that feel like here? I mean, let me just ask you, what does it feel like to be a Nick Saban lover and supporter?
Well, I'm going to give because we can't crack our top 4 here. Christian, I want you to sit down. I want you to put your big ass cheeks in that chair there. And I want you to listen. And I want you to listen good. Okay?
Is this story time, Dad?
It's
or Grandpa?
This motherfucker here.
You old fuck.
Yeah, exactly. You sad sack of shit that you've always been. Here's the deal. I'm going to tell you guys something. Nick Saban, he brought it up. I got to fucking address it. I'm tired of not talking about it after how many podcasts now?
Yeah.
It's not, yeah. I don't hate Nick Saban for why most people hate Nick Saban, in air quotes. I hate Nick Saban because of what he did to my Miami Dolphins in the NFL. He came from LSU, won a national title for him, right? Comes to the NFL, gets the big fucking money, runs my fucking team into the ground, quits week 13. We were 2-11 or 2-12 or some shit like that. And he quit, goes to Alabama, builds the powerhouse that we all know, right? That's why I hate him. I hate him for fucking quitting. I think he's a control freak. I think the guy is he the best college football coach probably ever? Probably. That's a discussion for another day. I just piss what he did to my Dolphins. I'm a lifetime 30-year Dolphins fan since the age I was 5, right? So that's why I hate him. Am I mad about Alabama? I don't let my personal feelings get into this when I do ratings. Alabama, to talk about where they're at 5 here. No, I think there should be higher. I think they win the SEC, Christian, this year. I know this is a big take for you. Let's fucking get it on. You're a Georgia boy. You live down there in Georgia. You've been fucking sucking the proverbial dick now for the last 2 or 3 years. What do you got to say?
I think you've absolutely lost your fucking mind.
Yes!
I think they should be inside the top 4, bro. Listen, I don't think they're winning shit as far as the SEC is concerned. I actually think
spoken like a true Georgia guy.
They are going to regress, and here is why. Look at who all the fuck they are losing. Now, granted, I know the argument's going to be, yeah, but they get the #1 recruiting class. Look, here's the reality. Will Anderson played a shit ton of football. Bryce Young was one of the best, arguably one of the best quarterbacks last year in college football. Jahmyr Gibbs, Henry To'oTo'o, been around forever. Started out at Tennessee, was even one of the best linebackers when he was at Tennessee.
Agreed.
Jordan Battle, DeMarco Helms. They're losing, another offensive lineman. By the way, that offensive line wasn't all that great last year, was it?
Yeah, I'm going to stop you right here, and you stopped at a perfect time. I'm not disagreeing the last 20 seconds if your balls deep spiel there. I'm not. But it's Nick Saban. And that's all I got to say.
And Nick Saban can be, we've talked about this. Nick Saban.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Isn't your boy, Kirby Smart, hasn't he coached under Nick Saban? Has he not? I know he's a Georgia boy. Did he not, though, Christian?
He did, yeah.
Oh, okay. But I know that doesn't mean shit as far as wins losses go.
But let's
this guy. I can't believe I'm standing up for Bama right now. I can't. But
let's take a look at this though, because before you try to bear me, their offensive line was dog shit last year, and they're losing
trash.
And they're losing 2 of the best parts of that, arguably, right? The tackle who transferred out to TCU. They're losing one of their best wide receivers. I mean, they're bringing in some good. Here's the thing that I think they regress. I think they have a couple losses again this year. I think they're another 2 or 3 loss team again this year, dude. And that's because I think you look at Jalen Milroe. Okay,
I like this kid. I think this kid gets a bad rap for the time. This is where I wanted to go with this. Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm not sorry. That was the guy I wanted to circle. This is where me and you are going to super differ on this. I think that kid improves a fuck ton. Did you watch him play? Yeah. You know what reason why he struggled, as they say there, with ball security? You didn't have a fucking offensive line to block for him. The kid's an athlete. And I think the kid's going to be better this year. I truly do. I'm not saying Alabama's got the next Bryce Young in him. I'm not saying he's the next fucking Tua or Jalen Hurts or fucking any of those clowns. But here we are. This is where that season, you just highlighted his name, bro. That's where I truly think this kid is going to throw a loop in things, and he's going to be better. He did play actually quite a bit for a freshman last year with Young being hurt most of the time, on and off, and all that shit. I think that they're going to be fine. Their offensive line can't be any worse than they were last year, Christian. You just touched on it. They were fucking terrible last year.
I think they can absolutely. Here's the reality. Okay? I think they can absolutely be worse than they were last year.
Yeah, but you can absolutely put on 15 pounds next year when we do this podcast,
bro. First of all, that's a bet. I already told you I'm halfway to 600 pounds, and that's the goal, son.
What are you doing? Trying to be on that show? My 600-pound life?
Damn right, bro. Hey,
all
you got to
right now, Christian, looking for a TV deal with that. Here we are.
No, but bro, honestly, I'm not trying to get to 600 pounds. I'm just fucking with you. But here's the reality of the situation, Chris. I think you touched on it. I think even if their offensive line, they're not worse, but they're not any better than they were last year. You're still getting a guy who's more, we've talked about. He's a better athlete than he is, I think, a quarterback. He can make some throws, but again, you look at it. They're very young at the quarterback position. And there's some things where you want to see how they kind of do this, right? They're losing so much on that defense. This is hold on one second. Let me finish. Because I let you go on these 35-minute long rants about why you love Nick Saban in Alabama. Look, here's what I'm trying to say. They're going to be losing a shit ton of pieces on this defense to the point. Yes, they get some good pieces back in, but let's look at Texas A&M and what they did. Okay, I'm not saying Jimbo Fisher is the same coach as Saban, but what I am saying is they were very, very talented. They were one of the best. They bought the best team money could buy, and they were all in last year. And look at what happened. They got fucking boat raced. And that's what happens when you play a lot of young guys that are very talented in this league is you get fucking mollywopped. I'm not saying that they're not going to be good. I'm saying that if you're thinking that they're going to win a national championship with this amount of losses all over the board this year, you've absolutely lost your fucking mind.
We're good. I'm glad that you think I've lost my fucking mind, but they're not going to fucking be. I don't think Alabama's going to be as bad as they were. You're bringing up all these fucking studs. Will Anderson right on the defensive end. Battle, all these guys that are highlighted right there. Right. No, I know they're studs individually. They didn't play as a fucking team last year. Alabama sucked on defense last year. Did you watch the LSU game? Did you watch the Tennessee game? I mean, what the hell were you doing? Sitting on your fucking what were you doing? Sitting on your fucking thumb most of the fucking season? They were terrible on defense.
Jesus.
I mean,
listen.
Come on, man. They're not gonna be that bad next year. I don't care with their key additions. I just don't think Saban is gonna deal with another season like that. Bryce Young last year did not look like Bryce Young of the fucking year he won the Heisman the year before as a freshman. He's not. I honestly think this is where I think you're fucking skewed, and I think you're on fucking drugs right now. That there's no fucking way, bro, that they win? Do they win a national title next year? No, I don't think that. But I don't think they finish the way they finished the season last year. I just don't. Do they finish right now at what we got them at? 5th? Maybe. Yeah. Maybe. But I don't think they're any. I think we're going to compare in a year and be like, well, man, that year in 22 or 2021 versus the year of 2022, I think it's pretty much equal, man. I truly do. I think Alabama is definitely deserving of a top 6 or top 8 spot. We could, differentiate between teams as we have so far. I just don't think their defense to me is what fucking really I think hindered them last year. I know their offense wasn't great, but their defense was terrible for a Nick Saban defense. I'm going to leave it at that, Christian.
I don't. I want to do this. I want to put this on here. By the way, I'm actually writing our bets down. Just because you said I got it all up here, I'm writing them down. So I want to do something a little different. I want to bet a bottle of whatever whiskey you want. Alabama does not finish inside of the top 4 at the end of next season.
Top 4?
That's what you said, right? You were slamming it down.
No. Do I think they finished top 4? No.
So you're saying top 5? Right? I mean, what's the difference? If you're going to say top 5, I mean, you might as well just give them the SEC bias.
No. I mean, SEC winner is going to get into the top 4. We all know this. What happens if they finish second? Where do you think the second team places in the SEC?
It depends on what kind of season they have. I mean, again, if they have 2 losses, but Or,
You know
or if
what,
they,
man? Fuck it. Fuck it. You know what, man? I ain't afraid to lose a fucking bet to your scrub ass. Let's go. Fuck it. They're in the playoff. Alabama. Write it down. I'm not afraid. I don't care.
yeah, man.
I honestly think that Alabama is going to be in that conversation at the end of the year. Do they make it? Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not worried about your Georgia team over there. I'm not. They don't play anybody all year.
All right. I like it. Lock it in.
Yeah, man, that was heated there. I was a little heated, bro. I got a little fired up there.
That was. Now this, you're really going to get heated about. Florida State, number 4.
Not a chance in hell. Not a chance in hell. I don't see Florida State coming back and finishing that high. I don't. This is where I think that Alabama kind of knocks them out. Or I think somebody like Michigan, Ohio State's going to push them back. Obviously, I think we know who's ahead of these rankings here. But Florida State returns some people, right? We're looking at this right now. I think Florida State, man, Florida State's a tough team to judge for me because I think Clemson's going to be competitive in that conference. Preseason ranking though, can I disagree with them being up there?
Yeah,
10-3 last year, 5-3 though in the ACC. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Key additions, decent. They had decent recruiting class, but didn't lose your quarterback. You didn't lose your running back. I mean, yeah, can they be in there? Yeah, I guess I take that back a little bit after just digging deeper into this, just looking off your stuff here. But 5-3 in the ACC, I don't like. That scares me a little bit, and I actually think Clemson probably wins the ACC this year. That's a hot take, so be it. But
I don't think that's that hot of a take. Listen, you know who Florida State plays game 1 this year, right?
No, I don't actually. That's
LSU.
Ooh, LSU,
and that's going to be a rematch of a game that LSU fans were super pissed about last year. So because they won that on a blocked or a missed extra kick, I should say. So to me, I think right off the rip they start 0-1.
Really?
I think they do. Okay. I mean, okay. I think it's very possible if you're looking at this, LSU beats them game 1, right? And so you're 0-1. Then let's take a look at, like I said, I think, like I said, I just don't see how, because if you have losses again to LSU and Clemson, right? I mean,
I agree with you. Not to interrupt you, though. No, I agree with you. I think that Florida State. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, if you take the LSU loss right away, you got to run the table to finish top 4 at least. You know what I mean? And win the ACC. Good point. No, I don't. I think LSU. I'm pretty high on LSU, so I think we're good there.
Yeah. So let's take a look at here, and again, we'll kind of get into this because we're getting pretty late in this yet. But Michigan's number 3. That's a team you'd probably disagree with them here, would you not?
No, I think they finished fucking higher than that. I think they beat Ohio State. I told you this year. I said on the previous podcast, man. I think Michigan beats Ohio State this year. I think they got something brewing over there. I'm not the biggest, I like Jim Harbaugh. I think he's a little quirky at times, but man, he gets it done. I think Michigan finishes ahead of Ohio State. I'm not going to dig deep into them. We've done this before, but I think Michigan's got a chance this year. Blake Corum coming back is the big thing. Kate McElmare is going to be huge. Man, that's all I got to really say about Michigan, man. It's smash mouth football. I'm not a Michigan dick rider, but I mean, I truly think that they play the type of football in the Big Ten to get you to the point, and I think it's going to come down to them and Ohio State.
Yeah, that Ohio State game is going to determine it all, I think. I mean, I kind of had said we've kind of broken down Ohio State and Michigan ad nauseum in this.
Yes.
I think for me, I mean, again, I think they're a top 4 team. They might, I've said this, and it might be controversial, hey, it's just my opinion. They might, right, lose a couple games. I could see them being 10-2 this year.
No way.
Yeah, I could. I'm just saying, hey, a 10-2 to me is very plausible for them.
Plausible for you, but I just don't see it with the teams they play unless you think Nebraska's going to knock them off, and then I will run around this whole city here naked. So
We'll have to see. Like I said, we've already put a bet on this, so there's no point in us getting all riled up. Ohio State, they have it number 2. I think really, depending on how the coin flip of the season, depending on who's healthy, whatever have you, this really could be pretty. This could be flip flopped around here
easily. I don't think we have to talk much about these two teams, though. I mean, we've
really touched on them. Yeah, if you're curious, go check out our other podcast. Again, we did put a bet on that. I think we put the Truffle Shuffle beer chug for whoever loses that.
Can't wait to see Christian be doing that.
Fuck yeah, bro.
We're going to be all over the internet.
Damn right. Now, number 1, the balls on these guys.
Now I think it's in hell. No, do I think Georgia? I think my list is a little fluent here as we go through this stuff, and I know I started off the first podcast thinking Georgia has definitely a damn good chance of repeating for 3, which I think only 2 other teams have ever done. I'm going to stick with my guns here, though. I think I just said earlier. The more I think about it, I know this is such a fucking crazy hot take. I think Bama is going to knock them off this year. I know Christian has a shit ton of supporting evidence where Bama is probably going to be trash in his mind, but you guys lose a lot, and it is hard to continue winning. You guys went 15-0 last year, dude. That's a tough thing to do. I watched some Huskers back in 94, 95 go back to back and not lose in both seasons, winning a national title. It's tough to do, bro. Super tough to do.
Three-peat, man, I think that's pretty tough. I think it's tough. They are talented, and they are deep, and they did still sign a number 2 recruiting class in the country. They do bring in, Ra Thomas, Dominic Lovett, 2 guys who played in this league, over at Mississippi State and Missouri. They were respectively one of the best receivers on those teams. Again, they have another great recruiting class. They get a 5-star in AJ Harris. They get Damon Willis. They get 5 stars all over the class on defense. Here's where I'm concerned. How do you go with quarterback here? Carson Beck, you watched him. They've kind of took the gloves off of him at certain points last year and tried to get him some action. I think from what I've seen, they're going to open it up, and it's going to be between Beck as well as good Lord.
It's Beck and still think Beck gets a job.
Brock Vandergrift, that's who it was. I don't know why I was struggling to say that. I was thinking Gunnar Stockton. I
think it's Beck though, Christian, to answer this quickly, because we've talked about Georgia, and I just think that Georgia I love Kirby Smart. I think he's a hell of a coach, but overall, this ranking right now, I'm not going to say I'm a number 1 just because of historical stats, right? I mean, that's tough to say and tough to do, but.
Do I think they're a top 10, 15 team this year? Absolutely. Oh. Do I think that they finish undefeated, or do I think that they do I think that they're going to be number 1 at the end of the year? No. I mean, again, top 5, that probably seems more likely to me. Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be some surprise losses this year that people are going to say, I don't see it. But I think there's some games that are some trap games in that schedule. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. And that's kind of what we think as far as that's concerned. Yeah. Now, probably as the offseason gets a little more underway, we'll actually sit down and we'll look to make our own top 25, and we'll probably go through and do something like that and kind of just see where the chips fall there, right? So, yeah, but I think this is a good stopping point for us. I mean, we're coming up right at about an hour here on the podcast. So, again, guys, be sure to catch us live, or sorry, not live. We're not getting there yet. Be sure to catch us weekly on the show here, as we do try to post, probably on Sundays as well as Wednesdays for everybody. So, yeah, with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chris.
Yeah, nope. Just a normal door greeter here at Walmart. I do appreciate you guys. If anybody's been watching, like and subscribe, man. I don't like to be that guy that says that, but I think me and Christian got some potential here, and I think we're going somewhere with this, man. I hope you guys do enjoy this. I hope people tune in. Christian does a great fucking job doing this. He's taking a lot of time out of his day to do this, and we enjoy just talking football, man. I hope you guys do too. I'd like to see some more people comment and just tell. I mean, if we're wrong, we're wrong. I know Christian comes on here, and I don't think I come on here talking about how much we know about college football. No, we all have our own takes. I think that's every college fan in America that I've ever met, rooting for your team or your conference or whatever. And like I said, I do appreciate the support. And like I said, we want to keep going forward here and just, keep talking football, man. There's a lot of, I mean, we're in the dead spot of kind of college football right now. So like, you know, we're looking forward to the season, the spring games coming up and all that adding on. And like I said, I do appreciate the support. Christian, you got anything else here, man, before we wrap it up?
One last thing, you know, we do have a poll out right now. It's between on our community tab. When you go to YouTube here, when you see this, go to the community tab and please vote. We're going to do a spring game film breakdown of one lucky team. So it's right now it's between Colorado, Georgia, USC, and Nebraska. I think Nebraska's in a commanding lead so far. So I know Chris is going to like that. So
no,
so
no. Yeah, just wrap it up. Like I said, appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Like I said, we'll get to that. And like I said, I think we got some really touchy topics to come up in the next couple of weeks here. So I think you guys stay tuned. You'll be super intrigued what we have to say and what's kind of going on in the college football world. So
damn right.